I say the word final. Okay. Well, that's tough when you're dealing with family or friends who are facing their own imminent demise, a terminal patient. How do you go about, negotiating that very difficult and sensitive issue when you want to be a good friend, you want to be a good family member? It could even be a parent, an aunt, or an uncle. But you also don't want to overplay your hand. What kind of tips can you pick up, maybe even from the person who is terminally ill? I mean, these are all things. And when my wife worked for a hospice, and she did for a time, I was just in awe of what she did as a social worker with this, because you're working with family, you're working with the person who has a terminal disease, or it could be old age, and the way you have to kind of walk through that grouping is you have to have a deft touch, and she did, and I was just in awe of it all the time, because but I do know someone who has thoughts about this too, and that's the good doctor, Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services in East Lansing. The podcast always at drjohnb.com. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Well, good morning to you, Dave. And this is a difficult situation for many people, because really friends and family often really don't know what to say when a beloved friend or family member is terminally ill. And they want to be sensitive and caring, yet confusion can be powerful with no clear sense of really what do you say or do. They don't want to upset the person and cause them really more emotional harm. Simply stated, though, really being genuine, sensitive, and caring are really key characteristics that are needed to be helpful to the loved one who is dying. I can mention some specific suggestions here, if that's okay, on how to do the most you can in terms of being helpful and loving. One is focusing on the person and not the illness. I think that's important. 2, treat the person as normal as possible. Good discussion can come when death is not the topic unless the person wants to talk about it. 3, allow the person to discuss what is felt comfortable. Old memories and even current events may be the preferred topics. 4, as health makes possible, keep the loved one involved in social events and social discussions. 5, offer support and help with true sincerity. Often asking for help may be very difficult for a proud and independent person that now is in need of help. I've seen this many times, Dave.
Right.
And then 6, if the person does not desire to see you in person due to the illness, communicate by phone, email, etc., however the person would like it. 8, decide what you would like to tell the person and bring it up in the conversation when appropriate possible. 8, realistically accept the reality of the person's death. If the person has and does not want sympathy, empathy and understanding are really needed. You can still be as positive as the reality allows. 9, silence may be desired, just silence. 10, sensitive touching may be desired. 11, read to the person as desired. 12, I think very important, you want to try to celebrate the life of the person and your memories together. There's no way it's easy to do this, but it really is important that the key is to make the person as comfortable as possible and let the last memories of the person be with you positive, and that you have a lifetime of really the rest of your life where you will have positive memories from the final interaction. Very difficult situation, easy to talk about, but I've seen so many people in tears, anxious, worried, not sure what to say, fearful they're worrying about themselves, their feelings more than the person who is terminally ill. Very, very difficult for when we have a loved family member or a loved friend that is terminally ill. Very difficult.
And that's where you get back to the part you said, the confusion. You kind of came back around to it there. You said the confusion that can reign a little bit at the start, and you mentioned it there at the end. Is that usually confusion just on the part of the person who wants to, is coming to visit, wants to do the right thing, but they're so unsure, or they're uncertain, or they may be seeing or getting mixed signals, and then they just, you don't want to freeze, be paralyzed. You don't want to not know what to do. That's what you're talking about here, aren't you?
Well, very true, and every situation is different. So if you've not seen a loved one for a period, and the last time you saw them, they were maybe hale and hearty, and they've always been kind of upbeat, call it what you will, however they were, and now you're seeing them in their last days, and you really don't quite know what to say. That happens a lot. Is the person going to want to talk about the person not want to deal with death? I mean, what is the person really going to want to do? And the person coming in wants to make sure that they don't make any mistakes that are going to be emotionally hurtful to the person. And again, the person who's dying, who could be in hospice or whatever the situation, they can feel very awkward too, and sometimes not even want to see the person, or more willing to talk to them, or not even want to see them, which can be even painful also. But it's kind of being able to read the cues, trying to get a feel for the person, what they want and what they're comfortable with. Even you don't want to go in and say, well, how are you dealing with upcoming death? I mean, that is not an opening statement, okay? I think you want to say,
that is not an opening statement. Exactly.
No. Wanted to touch base with a person that I've loved and cared for, for many years in my whole life, and just wanted to be here, and then kind of leave it open.
Yeah.
Those type of statements are open-ended. Then the person could come out, and the person could say, just remember all those things that we did, and it could be that, or it could be, this is the end. I recognize it, and just wanted to let you know I appreciate you're here. It could be any combination of reactions to the person that you're talking to, and if you see them various times, then it could be different each day. You just want to play into where the person is, what they want to talk about, and you want to make it comfortable so their last memories with you are going to be positive and wholesome and not negative and hurtful. You just don't want to do that. And that can be done, unfortunately, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah. Have you had to deal with people before in the various, when you've been giving therapy sessions, who have had not good encounters at the end with maybe a family, a friend, or somebody that was really important in their lives that did not go well, and it caused them long-term, in their own life, the living, long-term trauma?
I have, Dave, and when people have made statements like, oh, you're going to get better, don't worry about this, don't believe all these doctors. And if you make a statement like that and the person knows it's not true, it can be seen in a negative way, and I've seen that happen. I've also seen people just make just insensitive statements like, my goodness, you look 30 years older. You look older than when mom or dad died. I've heard those kinds of statements. People are not always sensitive, and there are people that don't have a good sixth sense, or people that just say things. I don't want to say a lot of this. The bigger danger is people staying away and not wanting to say anything, or just coming for a brief period and really not being available because they don't know what to say, and they often are thinking of themselves. I'm not trying to be harsh here, but they want to remember the person in a good way, and they don't want to even see the person on their last days. And I've encouraged many people that that's really not what you want to do. You want to really be, in these last days, you want to celebrate the person, celebrate what's been done, and you don't want to be going in there in terms of being negative or staying away or being very guarded and or just making a perfunctory visit. Hello, Uncle, I came to see you and can't stay long. Just want to let you know I love you, thinking of you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. I mean, there are people that do things like that, maybe not quite that brusque, but it's, I think, important to spend some time to sort out what the person wants or needs. It can be reading to them. It can be playing music for them. It can be just silence. It can be touching a hand, touching a forehead. There are many things. Each situation is different, and each person reacts differently, and any two people have different relationships, so the relationship will depend a lot on what their relationship was like prior to this terminal situation.
Doc, you can think now, too, how this has been, let's say, a situation that someone's entering into, in a more immediate, time frame, that it's been exacerbated by the pandemic as well. There are people who may have a terminal illness now who also spent a year and a half maybe very much alone, and not, so they haven't had touch. They haven't had close conversation. They haven't had someone, as I said, visiting my mom 2 weeks ago, her biggest thing was, I just want you to hold my hand, that was a big deal to her because nobody done it for a year and a half. It seems like such a trivial matter, but it's not. And I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon, but, she's also elderly. And so I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that need, and we weren't able to fill it for so long. And I think this would, when you look at this, it would be even harder, even trickier, but also maybe more important right now at this point in all of our lives to think of these things.
Well, I think you're completely right, David. I also think that even going a little different, if we are with older persons, people can be healthy, but predictably an older person, something's going to hit them and something's going to happen. So we always want to be, being kind and sensitive, if you will. That doesn't mean you can't be direct when you say what you're thinking, but making sure you're always trying to tune into the person, trying to be sharing, trying to be a giving person.
Sure.
But when a person's near the end of their life, we really do want to be tuned in, and we want to bring in, if we love them and care for them, we want to bring in love and care. We don't want to bring in distance, not kind of offishness, that type thing. No, we want to be showing love and caring. And fortunately, I think most people do that. But it's still awkward, Dave, when you're meeting with someone maybe you've known your whole life, a parent, could be a close relative, a dear friend, that all of a sudden, even if you've known for a period of time, that these are the last days, and can be very uncomfortable. And it can be uncomfortable for both, but those are those times that we show we care and we love, and we try to do what makes the person feel better.
These tips today, though, can help with what can be a confusing time and an upsetting moment and make it less so. And that's important. And take away a good memory, both for the person who's leaving us and for you. And that's not a little deal. It's our good friend this morning, Dr. John Braccio. The podcast will be at drjohnb.com, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing. And even on difficult topics, it's always good to talk to you, my friend.
Well, same to you, Dave. And again, just wish you the best. And your mother also, by the way, hope she lives to be 100.
I will.
Nice talking to you.
I will pass that on. Thank you, sir. Take care. We're back on the Morning Wake Up in a moment. Don't go away. 1320 WILS.